Welcome to the 11th episode of Ministry Wisdom. Today we have Bishop Walls with us. It's an honor to speak with you, brother. Before we continue, is there anything you would like to say?
Just glad to be with you, Brother Jason. Thank you for the work you've done for the kingdom.
Can you tell us your testimony and how your ministry started?
The uniqueness of my conversion was that I was not raised in church. As a teenager, probably around 16 years of age, my brother invited me to go to church with him. And my first time in church at that age, I think I had gone when I was maybe 7 or 8 years old. My brother took me. But anyway, the first time I went to church, I received the Holy Ghost. And then a week later, I was baptized. My first pastor was an influence in that he saw something about how I was being blessed in services, plus the dreams or something I was having. And so he encouraged me about the ministry. And I preached my first sermonette New Year's Eve, 1954. That was at the request of my pastor.
Wow.
So that was a few months ago.
Yeah. Brother, can you tell us, through your experience, what does submission to spiritual authority look like to you?
What does it look like now?
What does it look like to you?
Oh, my thought is that if you cannot or will not and do not receive spiritual authority for your life and for your ministry direction for your life, then I don't think you should expect to receive direction from God either, because God works through His ministry. He's given the ministry to the church or the edification of the church to guide the church to perfection. So if we can't receive direction, then we're in trouble.
Amen. As a minister of the gospel, what do you see the church lacking, if anything, today?
Probably, to put it in one word context, would be commitment. Because today, especially here in the Western world, in our America, there's so many distractions today that Grandma and Grandpa didn't have, and third world countries, foreign countries don't have even till. Too many are allowing distractions to draw them away from their main reason for being saved to begin with, and that is to be an ambassador for Christ, becoming wrapped up in the things of this world, which there are plenty of them to be wrapped up in, that I think we lack commitment, surrender.
Amen. As being a pastor, a missions director, and a bishop, what have you learned through all the titles that you've had and all the experience you've had that you would like to that you would pass on that you've had holding so many hats?
I would think I would connect it to be committed to what God has allowed you to become involved with in your ministry, whatever that may be. I think if you endeavor to fulfill the will of God in your life, it is God that opens the door. So whatever door opens, go in and do the best you can with what you have been called upon to do for the kingdom. It's all for the Lord's sake.
Amen. Having traveled and seen the revival overseas and seen it break out, what are you mentioned commitment, but what are some things that we can do to get? I know we're in some areas we're having revival, but how can we get that revival on a regular basis here?
This will probably sound negative, but I don't think we can. I don't mean to sound negative, but realistic. I don't think we can. The environment in which people live has a lot to do, a whole lot to do with their attitude toward God, toward the Word of God, toward their need of God. And again, we have too much going on here. Where you find revival enthusiasm in other countries is among the third world countries, where you hear thousands receiving the Holy Ghost or hundreds.
Yeah.
You're not going to hear those reports in some even modern European country, and especially here in America.
Amen. You mentioned your pastor, but can you name some people that has influenced your ministry and helped you along the way?
Yes, sir. Of course, again, my first pastor, a young man that was my friend, took time with me, although he backslid later. Alas, as a father figure to me. In fact, he included me as an heir in his will when he passed away, him and his wife. The amount was not very much, but the gesture to me was priceless. And I remember an older praying type preacher. When I was evangelized, he advised me about studying. He told me to go to libraries where I was preaching revivals in the city or town and search out the old corner places in the library where they have the old pre-Nicene, anti-Nicene, old writings. And I did that while I was evangelizing. That was some very good advice for me.
Man. What has been the hardest part and the easiest part of your ministry? So, all this time.
The hardest part, or maybe the easiest part, let's start there. The easiest part is probably studying the Word of God. I had no problem with that. When just as a young person in the church, we were encouraged to study the Bible. We were encouraged to learn the Bible, learn the books of the Bible. So that I took part in that. So that's the easiest part. The Word of God is life, it's strength, it's encouragement. The hardest part for me, the ministry, was committing to leave home, church, to evangelize, because back in that day I was so backward, such an introverted. I was not completely sure of myself and my ministry, so that I would say was probably the hardest part.
Okay. Brother, it's easy to say you're called, but it shows whenever it's put into practice. What is being called and having it put into practice? What does that look like to you?
Well, I think whether you're called to be a missionary in a foreign field or called to be a minister or work in the church here at home, what's foremost on your mind day and night will become evident in your actions, your worship, what you want to talk about when you're just having a conversation. I think that shows what your real interest, where your real interests lie. Your commitment, again, I'm going back to that word.
Amen. Amen. What's in your heart, what's in your mind will show by what you do.
Yes, sir.
Can you explain why a teachable spirit is important and how to tell if someone has it?
I think there never should be a time in our life, whether you're 16 years old or 86 years old, when we lose interest in learning. We want to just crawl up in a corner or sit in an easy chair and sip some iced tea. None of us have a monopoly on any subject or any need in the church today. And I think the person who quits learning is the person that will dry up spiritually. I think you can tell if one has a teachable spirit because they're willing to listen. They're the ones who are anxious they're the ones that are anxious and ready and willing to listen. And they're not the ones that are anxious to correct you when you offer something that's different than what they are thinking. So a good listener, I think, is very important.
Amen. Uh, if you can't learn, you'll never grow.
Never go. Amen.
What would you tell the young, middle-aged man or woman that has a call on their life that is just now discovering that call?
I would say if you feel in calling, again, whatever work it may be, then lose yourself in the calling you feel that God's given to you. If it's a foreign country, a missionary, then learn what you can about the country, what you can about the people. If it's a local ministry, then I would encourage a young minister or whatever to read and to study the writings of ministers that they know and respect. Listen to their messages. Watch their mannerisms when they're in the pulpit. Stay close to them if you can. Let it rub off on you.
Because they had to learn from somebody, and they had to grow, and so must you. What's now? This is the one that here. What spiritual disciplines? Because spiritual disciplines is a broad topic. What spiritual disciplines that may not be a heaven or hell issue, but you would recommend that a man or woman, young or old, young or middle-aged or old, install into their life?
I would think if you're not willing to sacrifice some of your personal things that you don't feel are heaven or hell for the benefit of the ministry, for the benefit of being a blessing in someone else's pulpit or church, and such as wearing certain kinds of clothes or wearing rings or something like that. But probably the majority wouldn't be heaven or hell issue, but there are plenty of them out there that do feel strong about it. And if you're willing to sacrifice those personal things, it will edify your ministry. And after all, you're there to be edifying. Just because you don't think it's a serious issue, the pastor in church where you're going to minister, they may think it is. And you're there to be a blessing wherever you minister, to whomever you minister. So making a little sacrifice is not going to hurt you, but it could help you, and it could help you minister tremendously.
The word tells us if you're greatest in the smallest of things, I'll give you more.
Amen. Be faithful in the least.
Yeah. And if your spiritual authority that's over you tells you to something, then the word tells us to follow the shepherd that's he's put in charge of you.
Right.
Yeah. So I agree 100% with what you're telling. In starting out, I would often go to family. I would often go to the Starbucks or McDonald's, wherever it might be, and I would get 10 no's, and I would feel like I'd never get a yes to would you like to come to church? Would you like a Bible study? Do you want to talk about God? What do you recommend to someone to dissuade discouragement and to get a yes to be able to reach the lost?
I wish I had the correct answer to that, Brother Priest, because that's we need the answer to that question, because that's what we do receive the majority of time, or even we may get a maybe sometime answer, but usually the case is that they don't show up, or they just flatly change the subject. So I guess being persistent, don't quit, because after all, only 2 out of 600,000 made it to the land of promise. So,
amen.
Persistent commitment, and Jesus, look at all that he ministered to, and yet wound up with 120 in the upper room. So he's a good example for us as well.
Brother, before we close, I wanted to ask you, I know you've got quite the library. would you care to recommend a couple books before we close?
Mm. I'm one of those myself who like the old writings.
Yeah.
I used to have a contact in London, I believe it was, where I got some old writings.
Mm-hmm.
Brother Sizemore put me onto it. The writings of Parker, the Speaker's Bible, Hastings,
Mm-hmm.
some of the old Banner of Truth publications. You know, I guess maybe it's my age, but I like those old writings. Some of these newer ones, I used to be a tremendous fan of Swindoll.
Yeah.
I bought about all of his books, and then he come out with that book on grace, and he went too far with that. Grace Awakening, just about saved everybody with that. So I think he took it too far, so I discontinued.
Amen. Hey, thank you, Brother Walls, for the interview. It has been an honor. I appreciate your time. Time is something we never have enough of, and I appreciate you giving a little bit here to impart some wisdom. Is there anything you would like to say before we end?
No, I think you're doing a very commendable thing with the interviews, and I'm sure it's going to be a blessing to others. Appreciate your interest in doing it and your work in the ministry. God bless you.
God bless you.